We have the latest on the Washington mudslide as the death toll continues to climb. Meet one City College professor who grew up with many of the victims.
And new information on the search for the Malaysia Flight 370. What is giving search crews hope that the wreckage will soon be found?
And the Aztec loss in Anaheim leaves fans sad but not disappointed. Hear what they have to say.
Scattered showers have just begun. Find out when the next one's coming in our weather forecast. Newscence starts right now.
Hello and welcome to News Scene. I'm Ada Schmidt.
And I'm Larry Moser. Thank you for joining us.
Officials say that a new credible lead has... Oh, I'm so sorry. So the death toll in Washington continues to rise as more bodies are found, and I believe it's now up to about 26. Hope is fading fast, but Brittany Ford is here with an exclusive interview. So, Brittany?
Thank you, Ada. Professor Erin Engstrom teaches speech here at City College, and she's lived in San Diego for 14 years. But she grew up in the small community that has now been devastated by the massive mudslides. In Washington, rescuers continue to battle through rain, mud, and debris looking for any possible survivors. The landslide that wiped out the towns of Darrington and Oso over the past weekend have left residents with nothing.
Homes, but they don't have property anymore to go back to and rebuild or anything. I think it's wiped out roads and land and it's unbelievable.
The heartache of this tragedy has trailed its way locally to San Diego City College. Speech professor Erin Engstrom, who calls Darrington her hometown, can't seem to wrap her head around the tragedy.
It's just like you do it by hand. You have to pick through it by hand to try to get to people, and I just can't wrap my mind around it. It makes me want to throw up. Oh my gosh, it's just heartbreaking.
It is. To make matters worse, many of the search volunteers are actually locals determined to find their loved ones.
And the volunteers that are first jumping into the mix to try to help, it's a dad looking for his son and a sister looking for a brother, and I feel I think that's what makes it that much more surreal.
This tragedy is now being declared one of Washington's biggest natural disasters, causing more casualties than the Mount St. Helens eruption in 1980. Now, many of the victims have lost everything and are trying to pick up the pieces as the search for more bodies continue. You know, you guys, this is such an unfortunate situation. People are looking for loved ones and rallying money up to try to help people that have lost everything.
It's an awful story.
I'll keep you guys updated as we get more on this sad story.
Thank you very much, Brittany.
Thanks, guys.
In international news, the search for the missing Malaysian airline flight 370 has moved again. The investigators have found hundreds of items and now believe that the flight may be near Australia, which that means less travel time for planes to get to the area and more time for the eyes to be on the water. Authorities say that searchers may also encounter calmer waters in this area, and 3 weeks after the disappearance of Flight 370, investigators say they have moved the focus of the search again after an analysis of the radar data provided a new lead.
President Obama has extended the health care enrollment deadline once again. The Obama administration says this move will accommodate people who face special circumstances in complex cases. This extension only applies to those who start the process before March 31st, but does not apply to people here in California. So far, at least 6 million people have signed up for the health care plan.
The U.S. Supreme Court has heard two separate appeals on whether private companies should be required to offer birth control as mandated by the Affordable Health Care Act. The owner of the arts and crafts chain Hobby Lobby filed a lawsuit saying it violates her religious freedom, while Planned Parenthood spoke out for women's rights.
At stake in this case is whether millions of women and their right to preventive care, including birth control, is trumped by a handful of CEOs who have their own personal opinions about birth control.
Now, this ruling could clarify whether religious liberty constitutional protections apply only to individuals or include businesses as well. And the ruling is expected to come out in late June.
A California state senator was released from jail the same day he was arrested on corruption charges. Democratic Senator Leland Yee was released from jail Wednesday after a series of FBI raids in Sacramento and in the Bay Area. A federal complaint against him accuses Yee of receiving illegal campaign donations in exchange for political favors. He's also accused of conspiring to smuggle weapons from Russia. Yee faces charges including wire fraud, conspiracy to illegally transport firearms, conspiracy to deal firearms without a license, and 6 counts of scheming to defraud citizens using his services. 25 other people were also arrested in the raids.
And in local news, City Councilman David Alvarez is demanding an audit of all public funds spent by the Balboa Park Celebration Incorporated. The group was established in 2011 to organize a year-long party to lure millions of extra visitors to Balboa Park and to fill as many as 400,000 additional hotel rooms. The organization spent more than $2.6 million, and members of the committee want to know where the city funds went and what the organization has to show for it. Alvarez has scheduled a follow-up hearing April 23rd.
Also here in San Diego, the increase in minimum wage is coming earlier than expected. San Diego City Council voted to raise wages from the current $8 to $9 starting this July. Minimum wage will then be raised again to $10, meeting the statewide hourly rate. Even with new measures, many feel the pay increases are still not enough to cover the cost of living increase here in San Diego.
And in business news, Blackstone plans a deal to sell its stocks of SeaWorld. The company that took SeaWorld Entertainment public last year is planning to sell 15 million shares of the theme park. Blackstone completed a sale of 18 million shares last December for $540 million. SeaWorld has faced strong criticism after the documentary Blackfish brought attention to the theme park's orca captivity practices. SeaWorld Entertainment points out that attendance has not suffered as a result of Blackfish, even after the potential sale. Blackstone would still own a 25% stake in SeaWorld.
And Sweetwater teachers are outraged with board members Tuesday. For a second week in a row, Sweetwater trustees canceled their board meeting, leaving teachers out in the cold. Teachers say it appears the district has no intention to listen to their demands at all. Recently, they voted to give their union authorization to strike if negotiations continue to stall. The union says they have one more negotiating session left with the district, and if it doesn't produce results, then a strike could definitely be on the table.
And an update now to the story that we brought you last week. City and school board leaders are hoping to finalize the sale of a former elementary school that's just steps from the beach. In a surprise move, the Encinitas School Board has announced that it's accepted the offer from the city to buy the land for $9.5 million. The board was planning to auction off the 2.8-acre property earlier this week, but that's been put on hold for now, according to the mayor of Encinitas.
People in this community have always considered it a legacy piece of property, part of our founding heritage, and so they want to see it continue in community use.
And the city plans to keep the land open for public use by artists or even a farmer's market, and the terms of the tentative deal have not yet been disclosed.
Residents of North Park gathered on Wednesday to discuss a plan to move forward with a memorial honoring the victims of California's worst aircraft disaster. On the morning of September 25th, 1978, PSA Flight 182 collided with a Cessna, crashing in North Park. All 135 people were killed. Wednesday night's discussion at St. Patrick's Church was set in motion by the PSA 182 committee. They're a group that's proposing this memorial to City Council.
We would just like to, reiterate to people that there needs to be a proper memorial with all of the names spelled correctly.
The proposed memorial site is on the corner of Boundary and Dwight Streets in North Park.
A former news scener is the finalist for her dream job. Find out how you can send Astrid Mendez to the World Cup.
And the Aztecs are out of the final 8. Pete Schmansky has the highlights on this heartbreaker in Anaheim coming up in sports.